Alrighty, so for this session, this episode is unfortunately going to be another one of those episodes where I am replaying footage that I have already played. Basically, the last time I played, I discovered that afterward, the last hour and 20 minutes had no microphone recording from me at all. Like, I believe I had muted the microphone and then unmuted it because I had a really bad cough or something. And I even double-checked I alt-tabbed back into the recording software, and I saw the red circle instead of the red X to indicate that the mic was working. But somehow it still never got back correctly, and so the last hour and 20 minutes was spent with no verbal commentary from me. And due to the nature of the quests I was working on, it was not really the sort of thing that I felt comfortable just uploading without the commentary, because I was like, this is going to be unwatchable without me narrating where I'm going, why I'm going there, what I think I'm doing, and so on. And so, for y'all's benefit, I'm going ahead and just re-recording it. So unfortunately, that means you're not going to get my real-time commentary on what I'm thinking or how I'm solving this, but I will try to try to remember what I was saying the last time I did all this. So, in the last session, I had remembered that I was planning to do a bunch of those wanted posters. I had spent a bunch of time hunting down specific locations, and then I realized at the start of the next session, which got lost, and effectively what you're seeing now, I said, you know what, I completely forgot to finish all of that. And so there are several that I can turn in, and even one that I just never did at all. And so I said, hold on, let me kind of pause this main quest with the Wolf's Den and go take care of all of that stuff. So the one that I'm coming here for now is the rats in the sewers. Residents in many areas of the city are complaining about a new type of rat that is beginning to multiply in sewers. The bite of these pests has proven fatal in many cases. The rodents are believed to feed deep in the sewer corridors and are extremely dangerous, especially in a larger group. For getting rid of all the harmful beasts, the Merchant's Guild provides a reward of 450 gold pieces to be collected from the Hunter Garros. So since I had started all of that, I realized that I never finished it, and I said, you know what, I want to just go ahead, get back to what I was doing, get all that taken care of before I forget. And so as I recall, the rats are somewhere near the middle area. So I think left, right, left might possibly get me there. I'm already lost. Left, right, left. Yes, okay. So through the door here. And now we have a bunch of sick rats that explode when they die because they are infested with the plague. And there we have a level up, which now gives me 68 learning points that I should probably spend on something. Diseased rat skin, unique trophy. And so I don't remember if I did any training in the last session. I probably didn't, but I still am leaning towards basically just putting more points into strength because that's kind of the main thing that really seems like it would be useful to me at this point. More points into sword combat could still be beneficial, but I'm kind of getting diminishing returns on that, and I'm not too far away from just getting to 100% through other means, since sometimes the weapons themselves will give bonuses, and I know there's like another, what, 2% or something that I can learn from a book that I can buy if I haven't already bought and read that 3rd volume of whatever it was. Whoops. Because otherwise, my only other thought would be to, you know, start putting points in crossbow, so that way I can have a little better accuracy with that, or I could learn a couple circles of magic and then turn myself into a mage hybrid with a couple of utility spells. You know, but then I'd have to start dumping a lot of points into mana as well, because a lot of them need higher values, like Sacred Shock needs 11, which isn't too bad, but Ball Lightning is 25 minimum. One of them, like this one's 30 summon it, so Wind Fist 20, Dust Devil 20, summon Golem 80. Like the healing spells, those are based on the percentage of the mana that you spend, or it's a percentage of your maximum, so it's like, you know, without having high enough mana, they do very little, so I'm not really enthusiastic about trying to go into a hybrid spell caster build this late in the game. But now with that one out of the way, I can collect some rewards. Sick rats.
Doskonale. To paskudztwo dostatecznie długo sprawiało już problemy. Trzymaj. Oto twoja nagroda.
Masz, dla ciebie. And then the albino bear.
Doskonale. To paskudztwo dostatecznie długo sprawiało już problemy. Trzymaj. Oto twoja nagroda.
That's it for Garros. While I'm at it, stop in and sleep in a bed to recover my lost health. Now I gotta go over to Octave in over here in the guard barracks. Turn in for the criminals. This guy wants to talk to me. I don't remember what he wants. Let's see.
Wybacz mi takie kontrowersyjne pytanie. Co myślisz o legalizacji bagiennego ziela na Archolos?
That kind of looks like Seth Green, just a little bit. But good idea, why not?
Dobry pomysł.
Tak, w rzeczy samej.
Look around suspiciously.
Co prawda daleka do tego droga, ale zielem możemy cieszyć się już dziś.
Hey, it's illegal. I guess I'll link him.
Dzięki.
Baw się dobrze.
I guess I can sell those for... I don't remember how much. The guy at Silbach, one of the guys in the Fisher Huts, Scarper or Scrappy or something like that, he buys them for 8 or 12 a piece. So collect the reward of a criminal. The widow. So the dialogue is all the same, so whoops. Well, maybe it's not different.
Nasza wyspa od razu.
It's generic. So now that all of that's been completed, I have some more gold to work with. Felt like I was getting a little low. And now I can get back to the Wolf's Den and start working on some side quests in that area. And of course, one benefit to watching me do some of this stuff retroactively is it does not take me near as long to complete some of these tasks. Like, the first time I did not know exactly where the rats in the sewer were, so I was looking all over the place, and it took me, I had explored probably 75% of the sewers before I ran into them in that one spot there, so
Hej,
it was a hell of a lot faster when you remember when you've done it before and can go exactly where you need to be. And that'll be kind of the same effect for this side quest I'm about to start working on. Because I had found this guy, Tonin, on the way to and from the caravan. I was like, oh, you look new. I guess let me talk to you and see what you have to say. And that led to a whole new side
Ciebie
quest.
tu wcześniej nie widziałem.
Nie było takiej potrzeby. Ktoś musi zapewnić węglarzom bezpieczeństwo.
Przed kim ich tak pilnujesz?
Przed orkami oczywiście.
Jeden człowiek przeciwko armii. Musisz mieć spore mniemanie o sobie.
W razie ataku mam zebrać węglarzy i natychmiast się wycofać. Chyba że jakiś ork jest na tyle głupi, żeby zapuścić się tu w pojedynkę.
Nudno, co?
Chłopaki mówili, że będzie ciekawie. Miałem się wykazać, a tu nic. Spokój.
Powinieneś się z tego cieszyć.
Niby z czego? Jak mam pokazać moją wartość w boju? Wolałbym iść do starej wieży. Podobno magowie poukrywali tam swoje skarby.
Magowie poukrywali skarby?
Najprawdziwsze skarby z czasów wojny z Myrtaną.
Zaintrygowałeś mnie.
Nie licz na lekcje historii. Wiem tyle, ile ci powiedziałem. Z tego, co słyszałem, magowie ognia korzystali z tej wieży. Z jakiegoś powodu przestali się tam zapuszczać i wieża popadła w ruinę. Musi być tam coś cennego.
Gdzie jest ta wieża?
W lesie, przy drodze do ruin zniszczonej twierdzy.
Zaprowadź mnie tam.
Teraz. A kto będzie pilnował węglarzy?
Dawali sobie radę sami do tej pory. Chcesz się okryć chwałą, czy nie?
A co mi tam? Nie powieszą mnie za opuszczenie stanowiska. Spotkajmy się na farmie Bermara.
Farmer's Farm once again. Unfortunately, there is a fast travel point right there.
Hej!
So take me to
Zabierz-
Farmer's Farm.
Ależ oczywiście.
Farmer Bermer. Oczywiście.
Hej, ty!
Hey, you.
Jesteś gotów?
Well, let's go.
Ruszajmy.
And so, of course, I have already been to this tower. Technically twice already. Most recently, I believe, there were the orcs building huts along the coast. And I was impressed that the game was showing that degree of escalation in the orcish invasion. Like, they're kind of establishing that this is a real thing that is actually happening. And I think in this quest along the way, you're expected to have like a warrior or a scout or something see you and aggro you, and I don't know if there's supposed to be dialogue with Tonin along the way or what, but he's gonna give a reaction here like as if we had fought orcs when realistically we hadn't.
Momentami było gorąco, ale dotarliśmy na miejsce. Chodź, musimy się tu rozejrzeć.
So it was hot at times, like as if there was some kind of danger or peril, but oh my god. No, don't you do that too. Oh no. So it was, other than falling off the cliff, it was just a simple walk over here, so I'm assuming it was hot at times was meant to be a commentary on a possible orc attack. Now he's got to slowly take his time. Where is he going? He did this last time. I remember it. And the whole reason I was coming up to this edge was specifically because I wanted to step here to block him from falling over, and then I didn't realize there was this little hole in the stone. You can't really see it when you're running up, and therefore, like when you're coming up here, you're like, okay, there's going to be a platform. Oh no! So then I fell in it, and then he fell in it, and everybody's falling off the cliff. So I really need this guy to not... Don't do it. Don't do it, man. Turn around. Damn it. Damn it. Alright, so maybe if I just ignore him, I think he teleports up here.
Bez właściwego klucza nigdy tego nie otworzę.
Czy nadszedł koniec?
Koniec czego?
Koniec mego cierpienia.
So as we see, thankfully, he does teleport, and I don't remember if he would have had some dialogue before this or not. He might have stopped and said something like, hey, there's a chest there, I can't open it, or look around or something, but either way, now we've got a ghost of a fire mage who looks very, very, his eyes are blackened out, and he has no color to him.
Kim... czym jesteś?
Nie pamiętam swego imienia, ani kim byłem za życia. Pamiętam, że dopuściłem się przerażającej zbrodni.
So that sounded really spooky. I don't know the language well enough to really understand the context of how he was saying it. So I'm hoping that that was like spooky and dramatic and not kind of like a weird cheesy effect. But as far as I could tell, it sounded pretty interesting.
Jak można ci pomóc? Co uczyniłeś?
Nie pamiętam.
Jak możesz nie pamiętać czynu, za który cierpisz taką karę?
Ból jest zbyt silny. Minęło zbyt wiele lat. Pamięć odeszła w nicość. Spowiedź. Spisałem ją. Znajdź moją spowiedź. Tam znajdziesz odpowiedzi.
Gdzie mam ich szukać?
Na Archolos. Pośpiesz się.
O, bardzo konkretna lokalizacja.
Yep.
Wiele lat
Yep.
cierpię swą mękę. Mogą być wszędzie 5 fragmentów spowiedzi. Złoży się na całość opowieści. Znajdź je,
Na co czekasz? Na niego!
Jak niby chcesz zabić ducha? On już nie żyje.
O tym w sumie nie pomyślałem. Słyszałem waszą rozmowę.
Wygląda na to, że ktoś rzucił klątwę na jego duszę. Wygląda przerażająco, ale nie jest agresywny. Chce zaznać spokoju. Gdzieś spisał i ukrył swoją spowiedź.
Mnie to nie obchodzą żadne duchy, a już na pewno nie będę szukał jakichś papierów. Znalazłem taki oto świstek. Możesz go sobie wziąć. W zamian możesz dać mi tę czaszkę, którą tu znalazłeś.
Po co ci ona?
Nikt mi nie uwierzy, że udało mi się dostać do wieży. Muszę mieć dowód.
W sumie duch już się pojawił. Mnie się do niczego nie przyda. Trzymaj.
Dzięki za pomoc. Ja wracam do węglarzy.
Zaraz. Liczyłem na jakąś nagrodę.
Dałem ci papier. Chcesz się bawić w zbawcę duchów, to się baw.
And so now that guy is carrying around the skull, which means he is the one who will be haunted by the ghost if this quest goes to hell. Possibly. But that reminds me that I've been carrying around this skull for a while now, and I don't remember where I got this from. And I don't remember if there was a skull or anything to interact with sitting on here the first time I was here.
Przynosisz mi odpowiedzi.
Jeszcze nie.
Zakończ to. Błagam.
Okay, so I have the quest, there will be no peace. According to Wolfson Tonem, the old tower in the forest near the ruins of the destroyed fortress holds some secrets. I'm curious to see if we can find anything of value there. Yada yada. Although Tonen turned out to be an a-hole. I wouldn't say that. He just didn't care about helping this guy. The trip to the tower has been more interesting than it looked. In it, I met the mage's ghost who doesn't remember who he was when he was alive or why he can't go to the afterlife. He asked me to find 5 fragments of his confession, but where to find them. So the paper that Tonen gave is my confession, page 5. New entry. My master is dead. I have tried, to myself, justify his actions by the will of Enos. But can terrible deeds, even for the noblest of purposes, be forgiven? I have witnessed it all and made my own mistakes, so it is not for me to judge. Whoever finds these notes should follow them and make sense of the events themselves. The first of them was hidden quite by accident. During the battle for the only unconquered fortress on this cursed island, I dropped it into the water and it swam downstream towards the waterfalls. They'll be here soon. The door will not hold their bloodlust for long. Enos, take me in. So this is basically starting at the beginning of a Chromanin style of quest, where there's 5 journal entries of this guy that are hidden in the world that I'm gonna guess did not exist at all until this point when you trigger the quest, because I think it's possible that I might have been able to have found some of them. I'm trying to think. One of them is definitely not. Well, this first one that we're going to find is, I think there's a high probability that I could have found it. But the clue for that is the unconquered fortress. And so, logically, if we remember our history of the island having been originally controlled by Wolfzak and his gang before the Myrtanian invasion, then the Wolf's Den would be an unconquered fortress. I think, like, at the time I was going, well, you know, Vardhall is... like, that's an old fortress. It's been destroyed, but I don't know if that counts as conquered. But the other clue is like the river and the waterfalls, and so I was like, I can't remember there being any rivers or waterfalls there, but even still I went up and double checked and was like, yeah, okay, none of this really matches the description of lakes and rivers and waterfalls. And so by that logic, that would mean the search begins
Hej,
at the wolf's den,
Zabierz-
and then we just sort of follow the path until we get to
obozu węglarzy.
No ależ oczywiście.
waters and lakes. And dead ahead, you see waterfalls. And of course, with telekinesis, you look around and you see no sign of anything. But there is something up there that I'm remembering now that I wanted to get, so why don't I just run up there and demonstrate what's up there, and also kind of give a visual cue on, for anyone who might need the reminder, what the area looks like. So what was the clue specifically? It was saying, first, during the battle for the only unconquered fortress, I dropped it into the water and it swam downstream towards the waterfalls. So, you know, if we assume that the walls up there are for the fortress itself, then you would look here into this stream and be like, okay, so I guess somehow it would have flowed this way and then gone downhill into the waterfalls and dropped into the lake there. But there is also a king's sorrel dead ahead that I had missed in my previous adventures, so that's super valuable. And so maybe the journal page would be in the water here. But alas. I don't see anything interesting here. I think it was about a different waterfall. So thankfully, quest entry tells you, hey, just don't bother looking around here. It's not here. Because I don't know if you would be able to target it with the telekinesis from some of these edges. Like, maybe it could be under there, but you'd be like, I don't know, it's a little too far away, and you'd be searching around for a while. So at that point, you just kind of follow the water until you get to the next one. Oh. Thank you for the experience. Now here we have some more waterfalls. And these actually have a cool little pool thing that I had not looted previously. It's an old coin, which is kind of cool. Oh goodness. Face planting. Actually, you'd think face planting into this shallow of water would have been maybe the smartest thing to do if it slows your fall enough to prevent busting your ankles in the landing on the ground. So somewhere around here should be a thing. And I forgot to get out my telekinesis spell to check where the chest would be. I think this is it right here, old chest. That's where it has washed up. I guess it really didn't wash up, it just kind of washed down. So, old chest, a tightly sealed box. Opens up to reveal page 1 of my confessions. Never in my life had I met someone who praised Inno so highly as Virgilio. His passion inspired both fascination and horror among fire mages, which is probably why they sent him here to Archolos, to help tip the balance of victory in our favor, or die trying. When we arrived, there was little more in the hands of our troops than this harbor town. There, on the hill between the rocky hill, on the very first day, Virgilio erected a chapel for our Lord, a place he could talk with him. My master supervised its construction. He would remind the workers to carefully make the heads at the front and back of the chapel. When requests failed, Master in his anger threw stones at the imperfect reliefs. So the key hints here are chapel, that you can presume means not the monastery of the water mages, because that would have been built after, as would have been the chapel, the cathedral, I guess, of the fire mages in town. So with it being on the very first day, you'd assume that it would be a smaller building and not one of those big ones. And the other clues are like, where is it? On the hill between the rocky hill, on the very first day, yada yada. So, this one was a little bit tricky for me to figure out, because I was trying to think, like, what would be a small chapel that somebody would have built. You know, it can't be any of the big ones. It would have to be a smaller one. And they had that clue about Harbor Town, but I kept just thinking of the big cathedral of the fire mages itself, and I'm like, no way is it referring to that. That one is too big to have been part of the original, like when the Myrtanians first landed here. It's got to be a different one. And so I went basically right back to where that tower was. I could have sworn there was more scavengers to kill up here, but maybe that was, I'm remembering a different session. But I had basically run back to where that Mage's Tower was, because there's a small cathedral there with a graveyard in it, and I thought, like, even though it didn't say Harbor Town, I was like, you know, that could maybe be a site where they would have built a chapel if they landed somewhere else, and couldn't find any clues there at the time. And then I was looking at this one over here, and I was like, you know, I don't think this one would be it either, because I just don't know. And I was looking around, like, faces in the thing, front and back, and, like, nothing here really matched it, so I gotta head back to town, and this guy looks like he wants to talk to me, but he doesn't talk to me. Oh, that's right. This is an important conversation that I missed.
Jeśli tak dalej pójdzie, to Ramsay pozbędzie się nas wszystkich. Musimy dorwać to monstrum.
Pracuję nad tym. Jeśli myślisz, że to takie łatwe, to czemu jeszcze sam nic z tym nie zrobiłeś?
Coś się stało?
O, Marvin, to ty. Chodzi o tę całą sytuację z bestią. Jest kolejna ofiara.
Kogo dopadła?
Gabriela. Chciał odwiedzić swojego znajomego pszczelarza. Wszyscy odradzali mu trasę przez las. Mówił, że skoro gildia kupiecka może przejść przez las, to on też. Najwyraźniej nie mógł.
Co teraz? Potrzebujecie jakiejś pomocy?
To coś, czym musimy się zająć sami. Ramsey już zagroził, że jeśli bestia nie przestanie zagrażać wiosce, to mamy się stąd wynieść.
So if you remember, I guess it might have been the last time, the last episode, I found Kipper kind of huddled up by himself somewhere over here, going like, I'm not going back there. Something to that effect, like he's scared of something. You see him there to the left. And so I think that dialogue from Marcus and Cardin explains maybe what he was reacting to, if like he saw or heard what happened to Gabriel, because he guards this gate and that leads to the mine. So maybe that's why he's scared. But he still doesn't give any new dialogue about the situation. And this was another one of those things that I spent a lot of time on in the last episode that got lost, where I was like, I wonder, now that I know that, if I can find some sign of Gabriel. So like I went into the woods, I followed the path all the way to the guild mine and looked all in the woods, and I searched everywhere trying to see if I could find Gabriel, and I couldn't find anything. So I had to conclude that either I just wasn't finding him, or you're not meant to find a sign of him, and had to give up the search after wasting 20 minutes or whatever. So instead, I will rest in my designated bed here, because it is getting a little bit late. It's still not quite night, but it will be before too long. And head to town, where I'm supposed to be to find the next page of this journal.
Hej, ty! Zabierz...
City of Archolos to... Merchant's Guild is probably the best way to get there.
Oczywiście.
Alright, and so originally I had warped into the harbor, and I was looking around going like, well, what is... Trying to think, like, is it something I could see? And then I came here and I'm like, alright. Like, that's kind of got a face, but, you know, there's no way to target it with a weapon, and I wasn't sure if this could have possibly been the first chapel that was built here. Like, I wasn't convinced that it was, and I didn't know, you know, like, you can't press buttons on these things, so I was like, not sure about that. And then I wound up coming to the actual cathedral thinking, surely they don't mean this. Oh, this is a random event, isn't it? This one's not so random. But, it's been a little while since I've saved, so why don't I save in one of these slots? These are actually recurring events. People, one of them I have met previously.
Chłopaki, to on!
Co to ma znaczyć?
Byłeś taki miły dla mnie. Pomyślałam, że mógłbyś pomóc także moim znajomym. Chcemy tylko 10 sztuk złota na głowę.
So this is a common problem in some situations where you provide assistance to one person out of the kindness of your heart, and then you get swarmed by more and more people over time. Sometimes you have the means to accommodate that, and other times you don't. Happens a lot with stray cats. You feed one, and the next thing you know, there's a second and a third. But because I know where this one is going, I'm tempted to do nothing. Because I know if I give them 10 gold, they are going to laugh and run off at high speed, like basically saying, haha, sucker. And so I'm going to do nothing and see what happens.
Nie mogę rozdać wam wszystkich pieniędzy.
Złoto nie rośnie na drzewach. Przecież nie śpię na złocie.
Ty
Cholera,
frajerze!
trzeba uciekać.
Następnym razem lepiej miej ze sobą złoto, inaczej gorzko pożałujesz.
Okay. So they still run off.
Wszyscy mają teraz
And I think the last time I did it, they might have implied that like they would be back with even more people begging for money. Because last time I did give all of them 10 gold, I was like, all right, I see where this is going. I'll give you the gold for now, and then just kind of let it be. So now it sounds like I will run into that woman in the green dress for a third time, and then maybe she'll be bringing guys to ambush me, like enforcers, whereas otherwise she would have just had a whole bunch more people with her anyway. Maybe it would be the same, but anyway, we get here looking for a chapel, and this one again has the face on the front, but I was still like, no way, they can't be referring to this. This one had to have been built well afterward. And what it turns out they're referring to is this one. This little chapel in the cemetery, I guess, was the original one that was built when they first landed. And now, with a crossbow, I can shoot the effigy. And maybe I can pick up my bolts again, or not. New entry. As I shot at the carved head, I heard a sound of moving stones coming from the back of the chapel. I should check it out. I can dig up that grave again. But here, all of a sudden, my confession, page 2. As a novice, I had heard of circles of magical knowledge, the mastery of which could send down a rain of fire from the sky. But what I saw, heard, and felt at the Battle of Vardal was indescribable. The master set the sky ablaze. For 3 days and nights, the fortress was aflame. The fire was seen across the island. The stench and heat was felt in nearby villages. The main walls, made of huge rocks, were not so much crumbled as melted and shrunk. The whole area was barren. One could hardly find the living animals. One could hardly find any living animals. There was nothing left of the outer walls. I climbed them to look at my master's work, at the barely hanging bridge and the ruined fortress. This one is a little bit more straightforward. We know, obviously, that this one is at the ruined walls near Vardal. And I think the main question is just what is their definition of outer wall, because there's a couple of things that could possibly refer to. Where is there? I might have missed a slightly faster path to get to a teleporter. No, here it is. Okay. I'm used to seeing this shrine when I'm approaching the barracks from the left. So now it's not from my left, it's in a different spot. So now I can warp to the crypt by Vardal Fortress. But that last note starts to give a little bit of lore about what happened to this place. So I don't know if all of this destruction is specifically from that event or if it was something else. But he was talking about rain of fire, presumably like what might be the first time anyone has ever conjured a rain of fire, the famous spell from the original games. Uncontrolled, ran rampant for days and melted the stone walls, and I guess, you know, would have killed all life in the area, and now it's just been slowly trying to grow back, but it's struggling, you know, amid all of the ash and whatever, so I don't know if that's the full backstory of this area. I had assumed that there was like a major battle fought here at one point. But here, this must be where he was talking about looking at the bridge across there and all that. So here's page 3. Regilio sank deeper and deeper into madness. He noticed that his person aroused horror and contempt rather than respect. I saw him torn. Maybe it was the split that prevented him from raining fire on the only fortress that had never been conquered. On the one hand, he wanted to be the fist of Innos that destroys our Lord's enemies, but on the other, he couldn't indefinitely silence within himself all the screams of terror and pain his flames caused. Or at least, that's what I thought. Ultimately, fanaticism won out in him. I still ponder whether, if I had been at his side at the time, I might have been able to stop him. But someone had to see to the burial of our own comrades, who were also consumed by the great Regilio's rain of fire. But you will not hear of this from Myrtanian's historians. The dead do not lie, and they can be found east of Vardal itself. The truth is placed in the hands of the paladins. So that's kind of our next clue is the burial of our comrades. The dead do not lie. They can be found east of Vardal itself. The truth is placed in the hands of the paladins. And so this is where I'm thinking, like, okay, what are the cemeteries and graveyards and things? And, you know, there's, again, there's that graveyard in the woods behind Burmer's farm, but that's south of Vardal, not east, so I kind of ruled that one out originally, hoping that the instructions are correct in saying east and that it wasn't like some weird typo or translation error that meant south. But I also looked into the crypt where I had warped into here, because I wasn't sure if that was a paladin crypt or some other older thing from Vardal. Then I wandered over here and saw this. And you're like, holy crap, what's happening? There's like... You got skeleton wolf sons and skeleton paladins. So I was like, oh, maybe this is the clue. This is east of Vardal. These are like, the dead do not lie. Like, they are not lying dead. They are active, and maybe one of these paladins would have the thing. And so I thought maybe, like, if I fought the Wolf Sons or did something like that, I could help the paladins, skeletons, and yada yada, but then they aggro. So then you just kill everything. Then I thought, like, okay, well, maybe one of the paladins would have a journal page in their inventory.
Niczego tu nie znajdę. Niczego tu nie znajdę. Niczego tu nie znajdę.
But of course, none of them do.
Nic tu nie ma.
And so then I was like, okay, well, there is a tomb in the woods, sort of. There's that little road into that forest east of Sailor's Retreat. And I was like, okay, I guess that you would say that that's east of Vardal. Sort of like east northeast of Vardal, but that was where my next thought was. I did fight the Archons or whatever in there, so seemed like a logical place to go. And over here we've got random dude fighting a warg and an orc dog.
Cholerne wargi.
Jeżeli się nie mylę, to drugie zwierzę to orkowy pies.
Przecież to samo.
Przecież mają inne ubarwienie.
Już tak się nie wymądrzaj. Weź tą leczniczą miksturę. W lesie pewnie jest jeszcze sporo wargów.
I orkowych psów.
Ta.
So I think that is supposed to be a random encounter and possibly a humorous joke about the orc dogs becoming wargs in Gothic 2. They were originally just called, I think they were called orc dogs in Gothic 1, and then in Gothic 2 they became wargs or something, and so it's kind of like a weird, are they the same thing or not distinction. I think that guy was just supposed to be a joke about them being kind of similar creatures with different names. But here's another random encounter, is weird guy.
Kim jesteś? Nazywam się Marvin i co możesz mi powiedzieć o tym miejscu? To jest las. Cóż, kogo ciekawego mogę tu spotkać? Przede wszystkim potwory. Słuchaj, tak za bardzo to nie rozumiem, czemu tutaj jesteś i dlaczego mnie o to wszystko pytasz. Jestem tu nowy i chciałem dowiedzieć się nieco o okolicy. Chyba nie jestem najlepszą osobą na przepytki. Sam nie jestem tu długo. Dzięki za rozmowę. Na razie.
So some naked guy just approaches you and asks you a couple basic questions, and then vamonoses. And I didn't recognize it at the time, but then I somehow stumbled upon to a post somewhere that mentioned him. I guess it's the same voice actor who plays Marvin, and it's supposed to be a meta joke about how the player walks around and is always approaching random strangers to ask basic questions about themselves or the area. So that's kind of a fun little thing. And here's a warg hanging out in the bear ambush hideout. As I recall, there are at least a few new zombos who have been spawned since the last time I cleared this area out.
Nie ma czego plądrować. Niczego tu nie znajdę.
Nothing to be had there. There he is. Oops.
Niczego tu nie znajdę.
So right here we have my confession, page 4. The final page. So it was the most ordinary summer morning. Two villagers did not kneel as they passed the shrine of Innos. Virgilio carelessly turned them into ashes and returned to his duties. The news spread in an instant, and townsfolk rushed towards the chapel where the mages resided. He was surrounded by the crowd as he began to pray. He killed more than a dozen before they beat him to death. Why did no one prevent this? The water mages definitely knew about the crowd. Did they not arrive in time? Or maybe they decided it was better for the balance. When I came, I tried to stop them, but all I saw in their eyes was pure hatred. First they threw an apple, then a stone. I felt blood on my head, and I don't know when the flames came out of my hands. I ran, but they'll be looking for me. So it seems like they attacked him, and he got passionate and reacted. Maybe killed someone? At the very least, he cast some sort of fiery spell. And just for reference, we can come back to reread page 5 now that we know the other entries are. My master is dead. I have tried to myself justify his actions by the will of Innos. But can terrible deeds, even for the noblest of purposes, be forgiven? I have witnessed it all and made my own mistakes, so it is not for me to judge. Whoever finds these notes should follow them and make sense of the events themselves. The first of them was hidden quite by accident. During the battle for the only unconquered fortress on this cursed island, I dropped it into the water and swam downstream towards the waterfalls. They'll be here soon. The door will not hold their bloodlust for long. Innos, take me in. I also want to reread some of these books about Vardal. Father was right, this place is cursed. The first day we just killed some skeletons and set up camp, but by nightfall some of the guys were complaining of strange nightmares. I told the commander that we shouldn't be here, that this island is a tomb and we have to leave here. Now there is no turning back, the gate is closed. We tried to break it down, but our battering rams are crumbling on it. Some have started waving in the air like they're fighting something. Others simply fell on their own blades. More people are jumping off the walls. I can't stand all the screaming and moaning anymore. Even if I plug my ears, I can still hear them in my head. Ancestors, I beg you, spare me. So, like, I don't remember where I found this exactly. It might have been, like, in the inner fortress of Vardal, but that, to me, sounds like it's not talking about the event with the rain of fire that just incinerated the place for 3 days. That, I think, would have been sometime well after the fact. Then this one is talking about, like, some sort of expedition, I guess, to study the place. And, you know, needing a key to get into some place, and saw a dream about the hallway with light, so this all seems unrelated. But anyway, I got this long quest entry. Okay, so it seems that the Battle of Vardal was more tragic than anyone wants to remember, and Myrtana's chroniclers unanimously omit the subject. Apparently, the rains of fire consumed not only the Wolf Sons, but the Paladins as well. The mage mentions the hidden graveyard where they were buried east of the ruins of Vardal. At the very end, he adds, "The truth is laid in the hands of the Paladins," whatever that may mean. And we scrolled down, found all the parts, time to go back to the ghost. Now everything fell into place. The ghost, while still alive, came to the island with the powerful fire mage Virgilio. They erected a chapel to Innos in the city of Archolos, and then set out with an army of paladins to capture the fortress of Vardal. Virgilio sent down a rain of fire, completely destroying the fortress, but killing many of his own soldiers in the process. In the coming weeks, he descended further and further into madness and fanaticism, unable to understand why he could not summon that power again to take the wolf's den. Eventually, he committed a vicious murder on innocent villagers, leading to a riot and his death. When the ghost I met arrived on the scene and attempted to control the crowd, he was hit with a stone and mindlessly responded with fire. He fled the scene to a tower behind Burmer's farm, where the enraged mob later caught up to him. And again, Father was right. This place is cursed. First day we killed some skeletons. So again, it seems like this would have been well after all of that happened at Vardal, so anyway. Now the goal is to run all the way back to the skeleton. Or I guess not the skeleton, but the ghost. found a blue elder. Well, that cut out awkwardly. Alrighty, Mr. Phantom.
Czy przynosisz mi odpowiedzi?
Udało mi się poznać twoją historię. Byłeś magiem ognia. Z fanatycznym oddaniem służyłeś Virgilio. Innemu magowi, który jest odpowiedzialny za doszczętne zniszczenie twierdzy Wardal. Virgilio na tym nie poprzestał. Każdego, kto mu się sprzeciwił nawet w najdrobniejszych aspektach, karał albo skazywał na śmierć przez spalenie. Pomimo tych okrucieństw, ty służyłeś mu dalej, wierząc, że robicie to w imię Innosa. Twego mistrza zgubił konflikt z magami wody, bowiem wtedy przeciwko niemu stanęli mieszkańcy wyspy. Ty zaś pochowałeś go i uciekłeś przed rozwścieczonym tłumem do tej wieży. I tu zapewne dokonałeś żywota. W jaki sposób? Tego nie wiem. Wiem, że nieświadomie przeklęli twą duszę.
O Inosie, to było tak dawno. Zaczynam pamiętać. Virgilio zgubił nas wszystkich. Ślepo wierzyłem w jego mądrość. Atak na Wardal zmienił wszystko. Straty w ludziach nie były dla niego istotne. Deszcz płomieni, który przyznał, spalił zarówno niczych synów, jak i naszych myrtańskich żołnierzy. Kolejne lata przynosiły następne ofiary. To on powinien cierpieć, nie ja. To zresztą już nie jest istotne. Powiedz mi, czy zasłużyłem na taki los?
If I haven't said it before, I really wish this guy would talk a little faster. I realize he's dead and it's kind of a strain, but I read the subtitle like 5 times faster than it takes him to say it, and then I'm just like, okay, can we just get on to the next line? But here we have a choice, and I have replayed this scenario just to see what would happen if I did this option. So originally I was like, yeah, I think you set the spirit free, like... It's kind of an understandable reaction to start throwing fireballs and people are throwing stones at you. It's not like he was acting with evil, malicious intent. And I feel like he'd more than paid the price for any harm he caused in that situation. So this is just what makes the most moral sense to me to do.
Cokolwiek uczyniłeś, zapłaciłeś za to z nawiązką. Jak możemy cię uwolnić?
Być może jest pewien sposób. Potrzebuję wybaczenia.
W takim razie wybaczam ci, magu. Odejdź w spokoju.
Dziękuję ci za twój trud. Lecz tylko wybaczenie wilczego syna może uwolnić mnie z mego więzienia. Ten człowiek, który przybył tu z tobą, czyż on nie jest wilczym synem?
Tonan? Nie wygląda na typ, który łatwo wybacza. Porozmawiam z nim.
W takim razie sprowadź go tu.
And so now we gotta go all the way back to get to Tonin, because apparently Tonin is the one who we can get to convince to release the guys, which means run all the way back to the caravan at Burmer's farm to talk to Tonin. And if you're watching this on YouTube, this is probably a part where you just want to press that L key 4, 5, 6 times, however long it takes, to just skip ahead until I get to that caravan. Because I don't know that there's really much to say, except just I'm going there and just walking in silence.
Hej! Zabierz obozu węglarzy.
No ależ oczywiście.
Hej, Marvin! Nie zachowałem się honorowo. Szczerze mówiąc, przestraszyłem się tego ducha. Wybacz, że byłem opryskliwy. Chciałem zwiać z wieży jak najszybciej. Ta czaszka, którą mi dałeś i orkowa broń sprawiły, że zaczęli mnie wreszcie szanować. Liczę, że ten mieszek skłoni cię do zapomnienia o całej sprawie.
Big bag of gold.
Przeprosiny przyjęte.
Dobrze to słyszeć. A co z tym duchem?
Próbuję mu pomóc. Dowiedziałem się, kim był i czemu nie może odejść w zaświaty. Można mu pomóc. Wilczy syn musi wybaczyć mu jego występki.
I przychodzisz z tym do mnie. W Leżu jest wielu lepszych kandydatów ode mnie.
Jesteś młody. Być może nie jesteś tak uprzedzony do wszystkiego i wszystkich jak twoi towarzysze. Posłuchaj całej historii.
Czy ty oszalałeś? Ten człowiek, znaczy ten duch, służył Virgilio. Nie ma bardziej znienawidzonego imienia w naszej historii. Zapomnij, nie pomogę ci.
Are those other guys gonna stop splashing water on themselves anytime soon? Alright, and I seem to remember thinking at the time like this was a choice, like one, like I was like, okay, well I could pay him, but like they don't really, wolf sons generally don't value money, and they don't take kindly to bribery, so I was like, maybe not. And I think I started with this, and then ended up having to do this to convince them. Why don't I just repeat that?
Ten duch cierpi od stuleci. Czymkolwiek wam zawinił, to nie zaznał on spokoju od stuleci. Nie wydaje ci się, że już wystarczy?
Za zniszczenie Wardal niech cierpi do końca świata.
Chciałeś się wykazać? Masz teraz szansę.
Zaprzedając ideały przodków, dziękuję ci bardzo.
Możesz być lepszy niż twoi towarzysze. Lepszy niż twoi przodkowie. Wystarczy powiedzieć wybaczam. Na to przez stulecia nikt nie miał odwagi.
Niech cię kretoszczury zeżrą. Niech ci będzie. Jeśli powiesz o tym komuś w wilczym leżu, to zabiję cię tam, gdzie stoisz. Spotkajmy się na farmie Bermara.
They're still doing it. Hey,
Ej, ty!
stop it. You
Ej,
too.
ty!
Stop it. No more. You're gonna prune. Stop it.
Ej, ty! Wszystko...
Nie do końca, tylko czekasz.
Dlaczego?
Stop it.
Podobno
Stop it. You guys, quit it. Alright, I give up. But anyway, now I gotta go all the way back to the Mage Tower again.
Zabierz
Burmer.
farmy. Ależ oczywiście...
So once again, this might be another situation where you
Ej,
just
ty!
Jesteś gotów?
hit that skip button
Ruszaj.
a few times until we're there, because not much to really say or do along the way. Make sure this guy doesn't do the same thing again. No. No, no, no. Okay, every time he always goes up there. Or he goes down there. So screw it. If I just come up here and talk to the Phantom, he should warp up again.
Duchu,
And there he
oto
goes.
Tonan. Przyszedł tu na twoją prośbę.
Czy wiesz, wilczy synu, co uczyniłem za życia?
Służyłeś temu potworowi, Virgilio. Marvin opowiedział mi całą historię.
To prawda. Czego pragniesz zatem? Zemsty?
Nie, magu. W imieniu swoim i wilczych synów wybaczam ci twoje zbrodnie. Obyś zaznał wiecznego spokoju po drugiej stronie.
Dziękuję ci, Tonanie. Czuję się. Ból zniknął. Jestem końcu jest jedynie ciemność.
I jak się z tym wszystkim czujesz?
W sumie ten duch nie był taki straszny. Dałbym mu radę. Przecierpieć tyle set lat. Ach, są rzeczy gorsze od śmierci.
Co teraz? Wracasz do węglarzy?
Jak się Ulryk dowie, że znowu opuściłem stanowisko, lepiej wrócę, nim ktoś z zamku zauważy, że mnie nie ma. A te zaklęcia, o których mówił duch, to możesz sobie zatrzymać. Ja tam wolę dobry miecz.
Yep. So he had left me a big bag of gold. This must be the one. 200 gold in there. I also got a couple of these other ones that I never opened. I
Bez
picked
właściwego klucza
the
nigdy
key
tego
is
nie
now here. Key to the chest. So spells, slow down, open lock, destroy undead. Now that's the one that I thought I was looking for to kill what's his face, the skeleton in the swamps. But again, I read a random comment somewhere that kind of spoiled. There's like a fun outcome you can get if you don't kill him with a spell scroll, so I guess I will follow along with that advice and not kill him. We've got heal heavy wounds. This one follows apparently like the same rules as the rune and being effectively worthless with a low value of mana. It's kind of disappointing. And then shrink monster. So none of this is really all that exciting. There's some decent value in there though. Really the more interesting part of everything was just the quest itself, with learning some of the backstory of Varadol and slightly spooky atmosphere, I guess, with the ghost and the mystery elements of puzzling out what each of those little notes are supposed to be cluing you in towards. So it's kind of like the Chronicles quest, but ultimately with a little bit more obvious clues. Like, I don't remember off the top of my head what the exact clues were for each one of the Chronicles ones, but, you know, one of them was like where the river, the end result is where the river splits and then meets back up with itself again. But it, you know, it never mentioned anything about a river, if I remember right. It was just like, I am after I split and where I return or reunite or something like that, which, like, okay, that could be anything, and you have to be kind of really thinking outside the box to puzzle out where that would be. And there's a few of them like that in that quest, I remember, that are extremely cryptic and not the most straightforward thing to deduce naturally, whereas this quest was more like fairly explicit about, okay, it's an old chapel. It's an old chapel with two faces on it. And they're like, okay, well, how many old chapels could there possibly be? Or it's in a graveyard with for paladins east of here. And like, okay. So, interesting nonetheless. Fun little quest. Whole lot of running around though, especially with this going back and forth between the tower and Burmer's farm and what's his face, Tono or Tano or Toano, or there's a whole lot of running back and forth, which is a little bit of a bummer. And so now this recording is only an hour and 20, so I have before I get back to what I was doing, I wanted to do a little bit of strength training. So this is going to cost me 15, right? I got 68, so I could get another plus 10 to strength and still have 38 learning points left over for anything else I might want to invest in. And as of right now, you know, I'm not exactly in pressing need for strength. This sword needs 145. But I think I got this one in chapter 3, didn't I? And so I'm wondering if it's possible that inside the wolf's den before long, if I'm gonna find a new merchant with new recipes or somebody who is selling a better weapon that might possibly need even more strength than this. And of course, more strength always contributes to your damage output, so why not? Oh, I gotta get to 80. Who do I go to at this stage? Do you teach strength? No, you don't. Actually, do you have apples I can buy? He has one. He does have Stone Skin Potion, which is kind of intriguing. I guess I'll buy your water bottles too, because I need all those for brewing stuff. So who in here teaches me strength? Karaman? I just remember he taught sword training. Dexterity, bows. Crossbow guy?
Hey.
Dokkan? Whoops. Dexterity? It's not gonna be Grizz. I'm really surprised the blacksmith doesn't teach strength. No, this guy doesn't, but I want to see. He might have some items I might want. Ooh. Teaches strength. Teachers. City. Bradlock for a fee. Runar, Rude, Recon, Vada, Boar. Vatsian. Oh, Odgar probably would teach me strength, right? I don't remember if he does or not. Fighting with close kind of weapons and bows also help increase strength and improve dexterity. Okay, so somebody can teach me strength, but who in here teaches me strength up until 80?
Hey, ty. Dobra.
Here we go.
Jesteś coraz lepszy. Jesteś coraz lepszy.
Yeah. So now I got 181 strength. Still have 38 learning points. I guess I could probably even maybe do another 15 and spend another plus 15 points on something, but no matter. So anyway. Yeah, I guess that's about all I should do at this point. Probably forgetting something, but I think I'll head on back to the Wolf's Den and start looking into getting back on track for the main quest, which I had put off by getting sidetracked trying to finish what I had already started, and then after picking up that side quest, but given that it is approaching an hour and a half, feels like an appropriate time to take a break and come back a little later. If not today, then perhaps tomorrow night, so that I can actually focus on these quests when I'm fresh. Then I'll position myself near the top here and work my way back down as before. I have one general goal: to get rid of all the refugees for the gate guards' benefit, and there's some talk about establishing like a swampweed farm in the Mishti Marshes, which he called something else, so I guess I will figure all that out by talking to people, but that will be for next time.